those clear. Okay, got it.
Guys.
Yeah,
We're
yeah, I
on.
don't know. Yeah, like I mean, I guess the just the transportation to different places or something and puts you in different places, and it sort of slows down time in a way, or I don't know. I'm not really sure how to explain it, but it seems like the years go faster when you're working from home and not going into the office every day.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So it's what? Wow, wow. So
Well,
I'm sorry, Amy Joy.
you have the floor, Sarah.
Okay. So we'll just start, and I know Laura, she has something, so she always comes in from the car. And so we'll carry on. We'll carry on, and so I'm going to share my screen. There we go. And this is a nifty little one that well, I won't say anything. Let's just read it. And I guess people are out gallivanting on this summer solstice. My species. Well, I would ask Parv if she would like to. Oh, she has a bad connection, so she doesn't want to read it. But Amy Joy, would you like to read it?
Surely.
Okay.
I always get a little tongue-tied, so forgive me. My species, even a small purple artichoke, boiled in its own bittered and darkening waters, grows tender and sweet. Patience, I think, my species. Keep testing the spiny leaves, the spiny heart. Wow.
Oh, thank you. So, oh, Parv. Parv's clapping. She likes this one. What struck me about it is where it goes. You know, starting with the artichoke, but then it goes into the spiny heart, and I you know, and it brings in oh, we have Anne. Yay, Anne. Hello, Anne. Oh, look at you. We're doing Jane Hirschfield's My Species. And Amy Joy just read it, and we were thinking, you know, how this movement of this poem of artichoke moving to the spiny heart. What do people think? How did you feel reading it? It does feel spiny by the end. With this grows tender and sweet in the darkened waters. I mean, it's kind of like life. And you know, you're constantly being tested. But I'd love to hear if you have something to add. My species, spiny leaves, spiny heart, very festive, Anne. That's what I said. Wow.
Yeah. I felt like it's a little bit like don't judge a book by its cover.
Ah,
And also though, that there's potential, that things have potential that you don't, that isn't visible.
oh, yes. And this, I like that interpretation. And this whole idea of patience, that is something that we have lost in our daily life with being bombarded by multiple things constantly, social media, what our attention is a commodity. So yeah. And the whole idea of the purple artichoke, I mean, what that food brings to you. So it often, her poems, Jane Hirschfield's, are very meditative. And I think this one is, it definitely makes me slow down and think, and as her poems often do. So
Sarah,
yes.
I was thinking, I love the way the artichoke is purple, like a purple heart, and it comes back to the end of it being, a heart. And so it's a way of describing the heart. So it's very guarded in the beginning, but all the essence of an artichoke is once you get that inside out. Because you don't even, when you eat an artichoke, you don't eat the skin, you just kind of allow the inside to melt into your mouth as you remove it from the skin, right?
Yeah.
So but the use of the word purple just automatically brought me to the courage when you think of a purple heart.
Purple heart, yeah.
So the courage to even touch something so hard and believe that it if you put it to your mouth and just take a taste, it'll be tender and worth your time.
Yes. Yes, and it's a kind of poem, and often her poems are like that, where you just keep reading it and you get greater and greater understanding as you sort of contemplate each word. Each word kind of ricochets off another word. It's quite something how she does that. And often with very few words. So, well, let's keep going because we have a full packet tonight. Mary Ruffala, if I'm saying that correctly. She is or was, or I'm not sure if she still is, the poet laureate of Vermont. And her style is often these long, not always, but the kind of one stanza moving forward. So, oh, Laura's here. I can't see. Let me see if hello, Laura. Okay, let's see if I can expand it. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Welcome, Laura. Who would like to read Blood Soup?
I'll go again.
Okay, or I'm happy to read if you are getting tired.
You go.
Okay. Or Tim can read too. But we'll get him next time. There's a nice long one that Tim is gonna. The last time I saw Father alive, he was using a black umbrella, closed, to beat off some pigeons hanging outside the marble portals of a museum. We were visitors, walking very slowly, so Father could stoop and examine everything. We had not been in the museum, but were resting on its steps. We saw it all, the fountains, the statues, the parks, and the post office. Cities are made of such things. Once we encountered a wedding coming out of the cathedral, and we were caught in a shower of rice as the bride flicked her veiled head. Father licked his little finger and in this way saved a grain. On the next block, he announced he was going to heaven. But first, let's go back to the hotel and rest, he said. I want my mint. Those were practically his last words. And what did I want more than anything in the world? Probably the ancient Polish recipe for blood soup, which was finally told to me in an empty deli in a deserted mill town in western Massachusetts by the owner's mother, who was alone one day when I burst in and demanded a bowl. But, she said, placing her fingers around a jar of Morello cherries, it requires 1 cup of new blood drawn from the goose whose neck you've just wrung to put in the pot. And where in these days can I find anything as fresh as that? I had lost track of my life before, but nothing prepared me for the onslaught of Wayfarer's bliss when she continued to list one by one the impossible ingredients I needed to live. We sat at the greasy table far into the night, while snow fell in the locked doors of the church next door, dedicated to Saint Stanislaus, which was rumored to be beautiful inside and contain the remains of his beloved head. Wow, wow, wow. So, Anne, you look like you were going to say something.
Just yeah. The whole kind of meditation on the ingredients of life and of lost life and the combinations of things that end up being in our lives.
Yes. Yes, and how she jumps from one thing to the next, and Tim in the chat about the mint. I mean, and then and then the ingredients for the blood soup, and how are you going to get the fresh blood from the goose? Which in so many ways is like life, right? I mean, how do you get through the day? Okay, that you're supposed to get to work, and then the toilet, that you got to get the plumber, and then the kid is sick, and the next door neighbor. I mean, this poem seems very outrageous, but really it's not. I mean, it's what it's what life is, and she puts us on this course. It's so poignant too, right? I mean, and funny as well, and everything in between. But the blood soup, oh, and we have cherries. We can never escape the cherries from refrigerator. And I mean, it's also interesting because so it seems, if I'm understanding correctly, that the father is dying, but she's focusing on the ingredients for the soup. Nothing prepared me for the onslaught of the impossible ingredients I needed. How she how she works that in it's it's quite something. And then, the saint, how would you say that? Who knows how to say that saint?
Is
Saint
it Stanislaus?
Stanislaus. Thank you. Thank you. Tim, I have trouble with the two halves of this poem. It's almost like two poems in one. You want to say a little more about that, Tim?
Well, sure. I mean, my comment above stated like there's this moment where the narrator of the poem is with her father, and he's near death. He would like mint because that's what settles his stomach, right? I don't know.
I thought it
But
was
helps him through, yeah, the end of his life, or digestion, what have you. And then this totally like from nowhere kind of riff on like blood soup, and I'm like, I have a real problem. I don't understand. I mean, I understand how the subconscious will jump from topic to topic, but this is not the subconscious. It's a poem, and it's like jumping from kind of one topic to one altogether different, in a different setting with a different character and everything. It's just like, I don't know. It bugged me, this poem.
So here's what I've got for you.
Okay, go ahead, Ann.
I think, is the mint like at the hotel on your pillow? And so here's the guy who's going to save the rice they're throwing at the bride, and he's going to eat the mint that the hotel gives you because it's free. So, that era of father and older generation. And then I'm guessing that they're Polish heritage. So after the death, this isn't a random craving. This is reminding her of her heritage, and this isn't,
Yes.
this is something that her parents, but she's getting the story from this other person instead of her father, who probably also wasn't the cook of the blood soup.
Yeah. I mean, I think you
So the impossible ingredients I needed to live includes her father. She can no longer get blood soup, and she no longer has access to her father since he had died. So this is this like, what is it called? Transference, or
yes. A transfer. The poem is almost an elegy, a strange, elegy to the father, and all of these, what Tim is saying too about, you're both right. These memories are cascading over her. I think when she says nothing prepared me, I think nothing prepared her for the grief, for the onslaught of and she says bliss, but I'm reading between the lines of all of that.
Sarah,
Yes.
excuse me. For me, I felt like she went into like a rant on violence. Like everything was like an onslaught, a war. Like she was just, I mean, I guess now that you mentioned it as grief, I could see that she's like describing her grief as like this war in herself, and this might be the only way to like satiate that, or bring peace to that tumultuous inside that's happening because of losing her father. But I'm not really sure why it had to end so violently. like for me, I didn't see it ending. Like, I'm just thinking of like a head, not this person who I loved in a casket or anything like that. So it's like she almost beheaded him at the end. I don't know if anybody else is seeing that, but there's like a total violence to this with a beheading at the end. And I don't know if it has any significance to like, the end of like a patriarchal figure, or something in that way. I don't know. I might be reading too much.
It's interesting because we're all bringing ourselves to this poem. Like that's what's fascinating to me, to hear all of you comment, because, you know, on the one hand, she's very specific, right? In all these details. And yet on the other hand, we're bringing our experience to the poem and trying to interpret or get the gist of what she's aiming for. And, you know, I would say that we all have a right to our own aesthetic. You know, I think that that's an important thing as a reader to, you should respect, you know, how you respond to this poem. And I don't think there's the, you know, the intended meaning, or how, you know, critics will interpret a poem, and, you know, all of that. But at the end of the day, it's how do you feel about it? And is it speaking to you in a way that is meaningful? So I would respect that, you know, your sense of how you're feeling this poem and interpreting it. And, you know, the other thing that struck me is that mint line. It's almost, you know, that's where there's the turn, right? And maybe, I don't know if Tim was saying also about where it's like the two halves. I feel like that's really where things started to go way off, and, you know, in a different direction. Almost like, you know, the turn in the sonnet, right? The volta, where it makes this turn, and so, you know, and it's also interesting that what you were saying, Amy Joy, about this idea of violence, because that's very much, you know, obviously there too, and maybe that reflects her, you know, all of this reflects the relationship she must have had in you know, with her father. These different aspects, the tenderness, the violence, the, you know, what they did together, you know, in the beginning. So it's a full poem, you know, and whether that is working to your aesthetic is another question. Oh,
Right.
thank
So
you, Anne.
so I Googled.
So what do we know?
So
What
the two things maybe that are key about Stanislaus is that he's the patron saint of Poland, and he fulfilled his own death. And so this bit, when she starts out about the last time I saw my father alive, he said he was going to heaven, and then a couple of blocks later he this, and then those are practically his last words. So is that
wait,
tying all of that in?
yes,
And then just, I'll tell you, I mean, a story of, I guess this is why maybe this is relatable to me. My grandfather was the pancake cook of our family. And he was, and they were Swedish style pancakes, which are thinner, runnier. And every time that was the only thing that he cooked, pretty much. And every time he made them, he'd say, if you pass through the kitchen while he was doing it, he'd say, of course, these are best when they're cooked in goose grease. And we just, what, you know, is this a problem? Is it, but it was this, like, you know, that's what his mother did back in the old days when I mean, just.
right.
So that kind of like, this is what we used to do, and this is the olden days, or, you know, this is the way our family does it, all those kinds of threads of things. And then if, you know, we're just sort of making do nowadays, but if you could really do it right, this would be the thing tied in there.
Yes,
So that when she says, this is, I want some of this soup, this is what it was reminding me of your family members who talk about some
recipe that,
something like that
yes,
nobody nowadays can do it right.
can do it. Yeah. Yeah, oh, that's, so Anne, I think you need to write about that. That's
Yeah.
a poem. That's a
Yeah,
poem.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and look at this. Tim, he's
17, oh my.
that is quite, and it has, so Tim, that's why you reacted so viscerally to this poem. You have the same birthday.
Clashing Scorpio mindsets.
Yes,
Right.
yes. I saw Laura for a minute. Hello, Laura, if you can hear us. But I think she's in the car. Oh, there you are. Hello.
I can hear you. The video keeps going in and out.
Okay, okay,
But I'm here.
okay, good. And I'm glad you're here, Laura, because right now we're gonna do the pair.
Oh, good.
And Paisley Reckdahl, and she is a wonderful poet. If you don't know her work, I recommend you go and check out her work. And let's get a volunteer for this one. Go ahead, Anne.
Okay. Put it on my screen and then I can scroll it.
Okay.
No one ever died for a bite of one, or came back from the dead for a single taste, the cool flesh, cellular or stony, white as the belly of the winter hare, or a doe's scut flicking before she mates. Even an unripe one is delicious. Its crisp bite cleaner almost than water, and its many names just as inviting. Bartlett and Comis, Anjou, Nashi, Concord, and Seckel, the pomegranate skinned stark crimson, even the medieval bosque, which looks like it dropped from an oil painting. It is not a sin to eat one, though you may think of a woman's body as you do it, the bell-shaped swell of it rich in your hand. And for this reason, it was sacred to Venus, Juno, all women, celebrated or dismissed in its shape, that mealy sweetness tunneling from its center, a gold that sinks back into itself with aid. To ripen a pear, wrap it in paper, lay it in cloth by an open window, or slip a rotten one beside it on a metal dish. Dying cells call always to the fresh ones, the body's siren song that, having heard it once, we can't stop singing. This is not the fruit that will send you to hell, nor keep you there. It will not give you knowledge, childbirth, power, or love. You won't know more pain for having eaten one, or choke on a bite to fall asleep under glass. It has no use for archer or hero, though anything you desire from an apple you can do with the pear, like a dark sister with whom you might live out your secret desires. Cook it in wine, mull it with spices, roast it with honey and cloves. Time sweetens and we taste it. So gather the fruit weeks before ripeness. Let summer and winter both simmer inside, for it is a fall fruit whose name in China means separation, though only the fearful won't eat one with those they love. To grow a tree from seed, you'll need a garden and a grafting quince, bees, a ladder, shears, a jug. You'll need water and patience, sun and mud, reverence for the elders who told no true stories of this fruit's origin, wanting to give us the freedom of one thing that's pleasure alone. Cool and sweet, cellular and stony, this is the fruit I'll never die for, nor come back from the dead for a single taste. The juice of the pear shines on my cheeks. There's no curse in it. I'll eat what I like and throw the rest to the grasses. The seeds will find whatever soils they were meant for.
Ah, thank you. Thank you, Anne. That was quite a meditation. Quite a meditation. And, you know, I mean, I'm interested to hear all of your thoughts, but what strikes me is that she's having fun, you know? I mean, there's a deep, there are different layers to this poem, but something that we don't appreciate so much in poetry is that you can have fun, you know, in terms of just the names. She, you know, how she's naming things, and I think that we, you know, in our own poems, we can have fun. Things, words, and sounds that we enjoy. We should put them in our poems, and riff on them. And you know, a poem doesn't have to always, you know, be of you can have fun. You can have fun, and just, you know, Anju, Nashi, Concord, and I mean, she's enjoying herself. And then this line of, you know, which looks like it dropped from an oil painting. I mean, that's pretty gorgeous. And the dark sister, she's going quite, you know, she's drilling down on what a pair in historically, you know, and then the whole shape comparatively to a woman, and you know, it's she's going in all directions with this, and then the ending, of course, I'll eat what I like and throw the rest to the grasses. And just interesting structurally, the 3-line stanzas, I think mostly through, and then the last line is a single line, which makes me think of a burial, you know, death. But I would like to hear what strikes all of you with this poem. If anyone wants to chime in. Oh, Parv, did Parv write something? A reverence for the elders. Yes, I like the regularity of the stanza and line lengths. Ah, so Tim is a formalist. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's the skill there. I mean, you know, it's almost oftentimes 3-line stanzas can be the way a prayer is. And in some ways, this is kind of a meditation, an appreciation for all that this fruit and food in general does, you know, is part of our lives. And I think that she's in some way praising that. Yeah. The other curious thing of just that whole, and she's part Chinese, and she writes about her in some of her poems about that part of her heritage, and so this is curious to me that the means separation, and it just also for your own work. I mean, look how she, I love to learn things from a poem. Sure, to be moved, emotionally, but to learn something as well is a gift, right? I didn't know that. And so teach in your poems too. Make people look up things when they read your poems, like you did, Anne, with that 17-year-old. How do you say it? Stanislaus.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's it's also a very a physical poem in terms of there is some heightened feelings, but then we've got the sun and the mud, and so I like the path that she takes us on, and it all starts with a pear. So I encourage you. I mean, just think. I mean, you could do a book of poems, meditative. We had earlier in our class, Marilyn Chin, all those fruits. She was doing like little scenes, almost like a vignette of these fruits. I mean, you could do, it's endless what you could do. You could never run out of fruits or vegetables for your collection. Yeah, any other, I want to be sure to give you a chance to write your own. So I just wanted to read one poem of mine that I tried. It's in one of my last book, and I got the idea for the prompt. I mean, one of the prompts for tonight, from this and from other things we read tonight. So I will, unless someone else wants to read Making Jam, I will read it. My mother and I picked ripe gooseberries from bushes next to the hole where we threw eggshells. That makes the best dirt, she would say, and point to the worms moving through the earth. I cut the stems with scissors. She used a pocket knife. Together we sat on the steps and touched each green berry before dropping it into the pot. Putting it on the stove, she added water and sugar. I stirred with a wooden spoon. Hours later, I lifted the lid. Everything was sweet. The berries burst, their skins and seeds formed a mass of red she said was God-given. We shouldn't waste any. We filled every jar in the house with it, jars that once held other things.
Mm.
So normally I don't bring my own poems to the workshops, but I thought this one fit with our title. But let's look at the prompt, and I want to give you 10 minutes to work on it. Oh, thank you, Parv. Thank you. So here are the prompts. Describe a recipe you made as a child with a parent or caregiver. I wanted to give you another one since it's our last time together. A meal you made that went terribly wrong. What happened? That's a typo. Were there guests? No H, sorry, apologies. Did anyone say anything? And of course, as always, you can use a poem or comment in today's class as a springboard for your own poem. So, have fun. And it's now, we'll come back at 7:49. Okay, everyone mute too. Okay, 2 more minutes. All right.
Sarah, hi. Can you
Hi.
let me, okay, good, because I'm home and now.
Oh,
So I'm gonna get,
okay, yes, if you can, yeah, great, great. All right. How did everybody do? We're all back. Amy Joy, you're at top of my screen. Would you like to read?
Surely.
Okay.
All right. It's just, bear with me. Starch white troughs and golden peak meringue whipped to ski lovers' heights, a display of culinary praise, atop lemon sun condensed cream, bedded in flaky hand rolled out crust, a labor of love, a tradition sanctioned only for holiday indulgences. 2016 marked the last year I had the gall to attempt what used to be the sweetened end of holiday gatherings. I tumbled from peak to trough with Dad's simple words. Where's the flavor?
Wow, I wasn't expecting that at the end.
Oh, that's sweet.
And it made me think of skiing. To such heights. And you look like you were gonna say something.
My grandparents, the cooks, have a lot of relevance here. And my grandmother would say the definition of delicious is it was cooked by someone else, which your father needed to hear.
I appreciate that. Oh, wow. And then you bring it into 2016, which is, has its own mark for all of us. Yeah. Really nice. Thank you. Yeah. Anne.
It wasn't meant as a statement on my views of the marriage or my new stepmother. It was meant to be a gesture. What gift do children give parents who have everything? And homage, in honor of his mother, famous for her cooking and hostessing. But it was also the wedding cake. And my body, host to a fetus I called Zorg, waited in the car while others went into that building full of food, ingredients for rich, flourless chocolate cake for the bride, chestnuts with a whiff of orange blossom for the groom, saltines for me. The morning sickness held off while I baked and rolled fondant, went to the justice of the peace's office and the reception, where I stood by an open door to reassure Zorg with fresh air and cold water, and suspect that I had left the sugar out of the chocolate, although no one would say.
Wow. Wow. That is rich. There is a lot going on there. My goodness, I can't believe that all came out in 10 minutes. Amazing. The morning sickness and leaving the sugar out of the chocolate. Fondant. Are you seeing the comments? Food is Anne is a real point of entry for you, I feel.
Yes,
Are you sensing that?
yes, yes.
Yeah. Wow. I could see that be a whole series. You have a title?
No,
No, okay. That comes
That's-
later.
yeah.
That'll come later, yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. Laura, I know you were moving around, but oh, you're muted. Oh, we can't hear you. Now I see you're muted. Now hit it again. Oh. Oh, that's so strange. Yeah, we can't hear you. All right, well, we'll come back. We'll come back to you. Tim, did you work on anything you would like to share?
I did.
Oh, good.
I appreciated the Jane Hirschfield poem earlier, and it's William Carlos Williams-esque presentation. I like the minimalist, kind of thing. He's my favorite modernist poet, and clearly that poem. Anyway, this is called My Mother in Pears, or My Mother Hated Pears. It came from, I understand, her mother's plopping a tablespoon of cottage cheese into the hollow of a canned Bartlett pear half and calling it dessert. How could they? Mother and grandmother hate pears.
Yes, another surprise ending. Well, the cottage cheese is yeah, this is connected to your other poem from last week, I feel, like with the dressings. Remember that one?
Yes, yeah, I mean, this topic of food and poetry draws out all these like weird familial dynamics.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a topic that will never stop giving. Thank you, Tim. I say keep at it with that. And you seem to have fun with it too, which came through. I hope you did.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yes, okay, good, good. Laura, can we hear you now? Oh, no. Okay, try to come in with your phone. It's the Zoom gods. The Zoom gods are battling against us. Let's see.
Audio is pretty tricky. Oh,
Yeah,
she's coming back.
yeah, okay. Let's try. There she is. I think it is strange. It is still buggy. They always send out these refreshes, but
Can you hear me now?
yes,
All right.
yes.
Okay, great. Let me just give me 1 second because I need to find it on my iPad what I just wrote. So I don't have to go back and forth. I'm sorry. Give me one second. Okay, so mine is called 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Okay, I guess 1, 2, 3 cake was my mother's specialty until 1, 2, 3. My father died on the 9th hole of the golf course from three fried eggs for breakfast, or was it 2 cups of sugar in his jelly donuts, spouting red with every bite? Then 1 cup of butter. By then, 1 cup of butter having congealed in his blood, and now I make my 1, 2, 3 cake and hope it rises.
Wow.
And I did make a 1, 2, 3 cake yesterday.
Wow. That is pretty remarkable.
Maybe I
Everyone-
should write all my poems in the car.
No, everyone's clapping. Yeah, bold ending. Loved it. I don't know if you can see the chat.
Let's see. It's hard on a phone, but thank you everyone for your comments, whatever. Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I mean, look how great the numbers are working in your poem. Anne, you want to say something?
Well, that exactly. The accident of the 9th hole of the golf course just. I mean, it's like these conspiracy theories about Kabbalah and numerology.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that when
Yeah.
I was putting it in there. So, but anyway, I did
Yeah.
make 1, 2, 3 cake with my mother.
And the other thing is, the numbers reminds of a recipe, but it's a recipe, quite a recipe for something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just like 2 seconds on 1, 2, 3 cakes. It's like they started in the Depression, and I think it's 1 cup of sugar, 2 cups of butter, 3 cups of flour. That's the 1, 2, 3. It relates to how many of the ingredients, with the measuring of the ingredients.
Right. Okay. But you take that to the nth degree.
I guess
Of the
so.
9th hole.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Look at the 10 minutes where it brought us. Amazing. Wedding cake, 1, 2, 3 cake, chiffon cake, Tim's pears and cottage cheese. Amazing. Did I miss anyone? No. Parth is dropped off. Yeah. But wow, this was wonderful. This is our last class. I feel like we covered a lot of food.
Are you going to be doing something like this again, or do you know? Or?
I hope so. Maybe in the spring, summer.
Yes. I'm glad you said it, Sarah.
Yeah, we'll figure, we'll work something out, but the idea of food, I think, is really, rich with possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, it just amazes me what 10 minutes can bring out. And I think that all of your poems, in some way connect, maybe subconsciously, or maybe I'm reading into it what we've read. I feel like there is some little connection, and that's why I love to read, other poems before you start your prompts, because I think there is, it kind of knocks things around a little bit in our heads. So anyway, well, any last thoughts before we sign off, and happy holidays and happy New Year?
Yeah. Happy Hanukkah, everyone. And happy holidays. Merry Christmas and New Year's come.
New Year.
Thank you all for joining us. Sarah, thank you. It is our pleasure to have you lead us in this awesome journey. And man, was this a fun workshop or what, right? So thank you guys all for participating and bringing your mind here. It's been a real pleasure. Anne and Laura, Tim, thanks for hanging out with us to the very end.
Of course.
Any last words, Sarah?
No, thank you all. Thank you all.
All
Be
right.
well. Be well.
Okay.
Take
See you
care.
guys
Happy
soon.
holidays,
Happy
everyone.
holidays. Okay,
Okay.
bye-bye.
Bye.